If you are in a kundalini syndrome and somebody told you that your soulmate, your ex, or the person you can't stop thinking about is your twin flame, don't fall for the trap. Watch this video before you believe it. Let me warn you, you are in a very vulnerable state now. The intensity is so high. There is so many traps you can fall in during a spiritual awakening, especially a spiritual emergency, a kundalini syndrome, where you cannot control very well your system, your nervous system, and your mind, which is racing. I don't want to be a terrorist, but there is potential danger. You're experiencing a lot of synchronicities. You have your emotions in turmoil. You have intense sensitivity, intense emotions. You tend to lean more towards your intuition side and live a little bit behind rationality, and there's a lot of confusion, and you're desperately seeking for answers. And the twin flames narrative offers a complete, good sounding explanation to what's going on in you. But the real risk here is to delegate the healing outside and avoid working on the real work, which is the personal one you have to go through. So let me explain the twin flames concept. In simple words, the twin flame thing tells you that there are souls which are split and incarnate in two different bodies. In other words, there is one single soul, and this soul is split in two, and those two halves are put in different bodies, human bodies. And the idea behind this is that those two halves are destined to find each other in this lifetime. And the narrative says that when those two people meet, the emotions are intense and there is an immediate connection. There is a strong emotional bond since the beginning, and there is familiarity, like you've known this person forever and you just met them again.
Oh, interesting. Then I had 7 twin flames.
And generally this is a relationship in which there is lots of emotional intensity and a lot of instability. The instability is mandatory. There is a pattern of push and pull and the dynamic of chaser and runner. And again, this seems to be like necessary. This is, you have to check if there is no this one is not a twin flame. Why? Well, because they say it is painful and difficult by design, because it's for growth. It serves a purpose, which is growth of both parts. So the soul splits in two bodies. You have to find your half. Intense emotions and familiarity since the beginning. Strong bond. Instability, push and pull dynamics. Painful by design. The painful is there for a purpose and because you have to grow, so you have to suffer. But let's explore the origin of this concept of twin flames. It is simply a modern aberration. It didn't exist. Millennial old traditions, the various religions and form of spirituality from east to west, they all talked about a divine union between the male and the female energy, the yin and the yang, the heaven, the earth. They talk about this perfect union between the warrior energy and the welcoming energy of the female. In the context of kundalini, it's Shakti and Shiva, the female and the male. But they never mentioned a split soul. There is no mention of this in any sacred text. And the Gospel of Thomas, one of the Gnostic Gospels, says, making the male and the female into a single one. So the ancients talked about the alchemy, the alchemic process, becoming one, merging both principles in the person, in the single person, which all we have male and female traits. Now, the modern twin flames framework completely inverts the thing. It says you are incomplete and you need somebody else to feel complete. You are a missing piece. You are not whole without your twin flames. You are alone in the world. You have to find your destined one, otherwise you will never be complete. And of course, there's, given the premises which says you have to suffer because this relationship is by design difficult, it also suggests this framework that in order to become whole, to become complete, to awaken, you have to go through suffering and instability and turmoil. So in other words, you're just half of a soul and you miss a piece. But now, I looked at the origin of this, I dig deeper into this whole thing, and I studied the original sources. And the concept of twin flames was comes from a person, a woman called Elizabeth Clare Prophet. She was the leader of the Church of Universal and Triumphant, which was founded around 1975. And it was, I guess it is still, a New Age organization. And this woman popularized the twin flame thing in a book that she published in 1999, which is called Soulmates and Twin Flames. And it seems that she took inspiration from the theosophy concept of twin souls, but she completely fabricated the whole split soul idea. It's something new. It was never mentioned before she created this. But now here comes the juicy part. She predicted a nuclear holocaust in the early 1990s. Of course, that never happened. But let's explore the reality, what is really happening. Well, the first thing you can be thinking of, and is something a lot of people think, is we are meant to be together by fate. It is kundalini that brought us together. There is a reason behind it. It's predestined. And my kundalini, this is very common. You can read everywhere. I met him and it triggered my kundalini. Is it true? Are these people lying? No, not necessarily. But the point is, we're forgetting something. Kundalini could awaken, could be triggered by many things. It could be triggered in many ways. Generally speaking, is strong emotions. That's why many people awaken during a near-death experience. Many awaken during a trauma. During grief, you lose somebody you love. During extreme pain, you're going through pain of some kind. Traumas, accidents, car accidents, any kind of accidents, and even joy. You can awaken because you felt this joyful emotions. You were looking at something, piece of art. You were reading something and it just triggered something in you, or while you're meditating. So there are many ways one can awaken, but these are just portals, are just entry points. And falling in love with somebody is a very emotional entry point. But romance is just one of the triggers. And to be clear, Kundalini is about self-realization. It's not a relationship matchmaking service. And then we have another second reason why it is this relationship seems like written in the stars. It feels like fate. But this is a cognitive bias. The point is that during a Kundalini syndrome, where you are confused and you want to find the reasons why you feel like that, and you want to find explanations, your mind is always naturally looking for answers and problems to solve and filling gaps everywhere. And in this case, it's even trying to find the reason why you had this Kundalini event triggered, and is looking for answers to why it happened. And that person just happened to be there when you had your Kundalini trigger. Nothing more, nothing less. Let's see why you are experiencing this, some of the reasons you are deep into this situation. Well, first of all, we were programmed since childhood from movies, fables, in cinema, in TV, that exists such a thing as the perfect love, the perfect love myth, especially females, especially women, especially girls. Is not a case that I would argue more than 80% of people that online comments and talk about twin flames are female. Just take a look around. The second point is that we all seek meaningful and deep connections, especially when we are in a state of chaos, such as maybe a kundalini awakening, a kundalini syndrome. It's not uncommon for people to fall in love when they are in a stressful situation. How many movies you've seen where the guy and the girl are just alone, isolated from the group, and they have to go through a series of adventures, and by the end of the movie they fall in love, because there is a psychological reasons. There is the stress, and which is creating this bonding. Spoiler, these relationships are not meant to be. One other reason this might feel so intense and destined is because you are an HSP and an empath, and I argue that many people undergoing a kundalini awakening are either HSP or empath. An empath is like an HSP on steroids. Naturally, your emotions and feelings are superior, are more deep and enhanced compared to ordinary people. A kundalini awakening per se overstimulates your system, and when you are with somebody which you like, somebody you maybe are in love, it's natural to feel this. It's all multiplied, so even your normal emotions against this person is enhanced. It's more intense, it's more chaotic. Now, what is the reality under the hood? In psychology, we have the attachment style theory, and given this theory, we have 4 attachment styles. This theory explains how a person relates to other people in a relationship. In our context, there are just 3 which are important, with one which is the constant, and is the attachment style called anxious. The anxious person in a relationship is always the person that always needs to be validated, is always afraid to lose the other person. He needs to chase, he needs to be reassured all the time. It's the person that needs confirmations. Well, it basically is the anxious one that is constantly anxious, maybe even jealous, maybe insecure, and this is always present in a twin flames relationship. And most of the time, as we discussed in the beginning, the most common pattern is the chaser and the runner, the anxious and the avoidant. In the context of attachment theory, there is the anxious one, and then there is the avoidant. Who is the avoidant? The avoidant, by definition, is the one that's avoiding the intimacy. Are those people that in childhood learned that being too much intimate is dangerous, is not secure, is not ideal, is not a good thing to be too much intimate. And we're not talking about necessarily narcissists, even though I think a narcissist most of the time is also an avoidant. Not sure about this, I'm being honest. So the dynamic runner chaser is the most common one. The second one, which is even more chaotic, is when you have a anxious and the fearful avoidant. Who's the fearful avoidant? The fearful avoidant is the person which is mixed. Is a person that on one side really wants to be intimate and wants to be close to people, but at the same time really needs their own space, and they fear of being too much intimate. So they alternate phases in which they get too much close, jealous and obsessive, and then when they get too close, or the other person gets too close, they retract and they go away. So it's really a mess. And I might know something about it because I was a fearful avoidant. Not anymore. In your face to those that think that you cannot change who you are and your personality. How does everything we've discussed so far harm you during a Kundalini syndrome? Well, let me reiterate first, Kundalini syndrome by itself, it's a very distressful and delicate phase with no need to add more fuel to the fire, such as a relationship which is problematic. Premise number 1. The first danger here is that you could be caught in a toxic trap. What I mean, if you buy the twin flames narrative, you could be stuck in a relationship because it explains and justifies the chaos. As we've discussed, by design, the twin flames is a turmoil, is a mess. And if you buy that narrative, you might be stuck and trapped into this situation, which is not healthy at all. But they told you it's necessary for your growth. It's necessary because otherwise you will not be complete. And then you stay there. You don't move. You don't even think you can get out of it. It's just the way it is. After all, you didn't know much about Kundalini awakening. That's why you have a syndrome now. You do not know how to handle the symptoms and the whole situation, and you need some guidance. You need information, and where you pick this information from the internet. And most likely you will find twin flames everywhere when we are talking about Kundalini. It's very tied. But again, this is dangerous territory. Why? Because you can be caught in this addictive and codependent relationship with this person. And codependence and addiction is called obsession, not love, not growth. So you stay in a abusive relationship, and the real danger is that you believe that suffering and pain is necessary for your growth. You believe that is a necessary process you have to go through. So it becomes difficult to recognize real growth. I mean, yeah, pain and suffering are the best way for us stupid humans, to learn things. I guess we could learn from joy and beauty, but most of the time we choose pain and suffering because we are stubborn. If you want the muscle, you have to go to the gym and go through pain to build the muscle. But where is the limit where the pain is reasonable for your growth, and when it becomes obsession, when it becomes masochism? What is the limit? When do you start to think, oh, maybe this is a toxic relationship and not a mutual path we've taken to grow together? Every marriage is difficult, but it is meant to be difficult. Those that divorce is because they thought it was all flowers and butterflies. No, man. So this naturally leads to a spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing is using spirituality and spiritual practices and concepts and ideas to justify the fact you're not working on the real deal. You're not doing concrete steps to heal, to deal with the real work, to heal where is necessary. You're basically using spirituality as an escape route. You're using it as an excuse not to act and to escape reality. And the second big issue with the twin flames idea during a Kundalini crisis is that it moves the attention outwards instead of inwards. It says the healing must happen on the outside, not on the inside. A real Kundalini process is all internal. It's an internal process of evolution, and the regulation and the stabilization of the system, the nervous system and the energetic system, must happen internally. It's your body which is going through this change. It's your biology, it's your psychology, it's your neurology which is going through this huge change. And the change must happen only where it's happening, in your bodies, to be more precise, the physical and the most subtle bodies. Now, the problem with the twin flames is that if you are half of a soul, if you are a missing piece, you are delegating your healing and your evolution to somebody else, to somebody external, and you are victim of their mood. And especially the dynamic in the twin flame is there is the avoidant and there is the anxious. And most likely you're watching this video because you are the anxious. The avoidant doesn't give a crap about even the concept, I guess, of twin flames. So you are delegating your healing to somebody who doesn't even care, most likely. So your healing depends on somebody else's behavior. This is the perfect recipe for you to stay stuck. The worst thing that can happen is that you start feeling like a victim. You develop the victimhood mentality, which is pretty easy to fall into, even when you have just a Kundalini syndrome by itself. without complicated relationships. I know because I've been there for years, thinking, oh, it's fate. Look what God did to me. Look what Kundalini did to me. Poor me. And this is the biggest problem during a Kundalini syndrome, because you've been told surrender and you delegate the healing to the outside without taking agency and say, okay, it's up to me to do something. Let me be clear here. Believing another person is needed for you to feel whole is a crazy idea. Drop that as soon as you can. I'm saying you don't need anybody else? No. We'll discuss this at the end of the video. Now, just to make my point, I got 2 comments I got from the internet. And I'm gonna comment the first one using my why framework. It's a framework, is a method that I use, and I even suggest you to use it in a video which I made about discernment, especially during a Kundalini awakening and after the Kundalini awakening, which helps you to develop discernment and critical thinking when you hear something, especially in the spirituality world where everybody says anything, where a lot of stuff is said every day and there is no way to verify anything. And I will use the why framework to do what childs do. Keep asking why, until the statement of the person is debunked. People just repeat what they hear or read or what they're told, monkey see, monkey do, but they never verify the information. How many people did just go back in time and searched who created the whole twin flame concept? I guess 1% of the people watching this. So you keep asking why, until the person has nothing more to say. And they just reveal they have nothing to support their statements, their affirmations, they believe. So this is the comment that I found. I've been cycling push and pulls for years. He's avoidant. He's a narcissist. I'm repelled by his behavior. But we are certainly twin flames. Why certainly? The chemistry is powerful. Why has this push and pull last for years? I'm not sure. It just keeps happening. Why calling it healing when it only repeats? Because it feels like it means something. Why does it need to mean something? Because then it's just not pain, it's purpose. Why do you need pain to have a purpose? I don't know. Why are you the one still looking for the answers and not him? Now let me read you this. And this is really tragic because a lot of people liked the post. Let me read it. I use it to pray to the universe to free me from this connection, to let me forget my twin flame. Every few weeks, I'd pull out my tarot cards and ask, what happens if I cut contact forever and move on? The answer never changed. Leaving him forever wasn't an option, wasn't possible. What? This person is delegating all their agency and actions to the universe and the tarot cards. Now, what to do instead? In a short word, don't be a sucker. Well, you have to shift from predestination to responsibility. You have to shift from, I am a poor victim, I have no agency, I have no role in this world, I just need to surrender to fate, to God, to the Kundalini itself, to, I have a role, I can do something. Nothing is predetermined. You have to shift from a victim to a creator. Everybody talks about manifestation, creation, the thoughts creates, and then they go and pray the universe for manifesting stuff. It's not the law of attraction. It's called the law of action. The law of action works way much better than the law of attraction, thinking and praying. You can pray and ask to change your psychology, to change your way of thinking, but then you have to use the hands, the physical body to do stuff in the real world. And if you are in a toxic relationship, if you are in a tough spot and you think you have no role in this and you cannot do anything, then it's your choice. And this is the real gist of all this. Kundalini is about liberation. The awakening is the goal. And kundalini is an invitation to show you what you can become. It gives you a direction, but then you have to walk the path alone. You have to do it yourself. It's about internal alchemy. The kundalini is about self-mastery, to become both the fierce warrior, which slays heads with violence when necessary, the male principle, and the female, the welcoming, the compassionate, the artistic aspects. We have both aspects, and this is the real marriage. This is the real twin flame. The twin flame exists, but is internal. It is your Shiva and your Shakti. It is your Yang and your Yin, which has to merge to become whole. We have two hemispheres of the brain because we need both. There is no point in being very artistic and intuitive and welcoming if you cannot do 2 plus 2. You have no rational side. A bird needs 2 wings to fly. So dependency on another person is an aberration. It has nothing to do with kundalini and awakening and self-realization. Why is it called self-realization? They would have called it couple realization. Now, am I saying you need to be a loner, you don't have to have a partner, you don't have to love deeply, you don't have to find the best partner you can, which completes you, where 1 plus 1 equal 10, and not, oh, I'm half and 0.5 plus 0.5 makes 1. No, become 1, and sum your 1 with another 1, and then you'll have 10, 20, 30. I'm not even saying not to seek support or help from others or join a community at all. Well, kundalini will put you in isolation for a while. It's a necessary part of the process, because in the silence that you find who you are. Indeed, there is the so-called, I think it's called black therapy, dark therapy, yeah, dark therapy. They close you in a house, in a cave or whatever, where there is no light for I don't know how many days, and interesting things starts to happen there. You have to find yourself, and then you can find your community. But ideally, you want to stay around people that teaches you how to fish, not that give you the fish. Ideally, you want to find gurus and masters that wants you to become another master and guru, not the master that wants you to stay a student and dependent and addicted. Well, I can summarize everything I said in this video by one invitation. Learn critical thinking. Intuition alone is not enough. It's a good start, but it's not enough. You have to have both. I'm saying this because I was a completely rational person and never listened to intuition. Well, only when I was forced to. But then I had a kundalini awakening, and I was all intuition, just completely intuition. No planning, no rational thinking. I lost everything I had. I fell in a really big, dark, huge black hole for years. And then when I came back, I learned that we have to balance intuition and rationality. Again, I invite you to watch the video I did about discernment here. If you are in if you are in a kundalini syndrome or a so-called spiritual emergence, and you're struggling with your twin flames, you're not sure if really you're destined to this person, I invite you to make a step back, slow down things, and be a little bit more rational and think about all the things we discussed in this video. And if you need help, if you need assistance, and if you're ready to ask for support, and not only want to talk about it, want to discuss about it, but you want real change, not just validation, click the link in the description to check my work and how I can help you to become more stable and grounded and easily get out of your kundalini syndrome. I've been there for years and I survived, so I developed a method and a framework to help you do the same. Click the link in the description and see you on the other side.